Hi, this is Ella Watts talking to Jessie Cleverly from Wildseed Studios for BCfm 93.2. Jessie is one of Wildseed Studios' creative directors, as well as co-writer and co-producer of the studio's latest film, The Darkest Dawn, which finishes screening today on the 6th of January at the Watershed. Jessie, thank you for talking to me.
Hello, nice to meet you.
The Darkest Dawn has its final screening tonight. What if our listeners missed it? Where are they going to be able to see it now, and how much is it going to cost?
So it's on all the places you'd expect. It's on iTunes and Amazon and Google Play and Sky Store, and in fact apparently is about to be out in Asda on DVD. If people want it as cheaply as they can, which I'm sure they do, then they should go to Amazon because it's just been made into a 99p rental for January.
Okay, so obviously this is a community radio station, and The Darkest Dawn was filmed here in Bristol and in Oxford. Can you tell us a bit more about the film's Bristolian roots?
Sure. Well, I mean, we are a Bristol producer. Our studio is where we're sitting now in Wilder Street, just off Stokes Croft. And before that, we were based at the Island, which is on Silver Street, and now being turned into a huge youth hostel. So we exist as a studio to enable new emerging creative talent. And so when we decided to make the film, when we greenlit the film, really, because these films we're making are being made for ridiculously low budgets. So this one, for example, was delivered all in for the princely sum of £47,000, which I know sounds like a great deal of money to most people, and is a great deal of money when it's in your own bank account. In the world of film, it probably pays for, half a day's catering on most film sets. So it's a sort of insanely low number, and that means that we have to kind of, make every penny count and really try and make the money go a long way. And that, of course, includes, using any and every location that we can get access to. And when we were at the Island, they've got fantastic basements and hallways and staircases and wrecked areas. And so, we wrecked our own office building and shot everything we could in there.
Nice. And so we know where to see the film, how much it'll cost. We know it's Bristol based, and therefore, we all have a little bit of pride in it now.
Oh, good.
But I'm interested in talking about why it's worth seeing. It's directed by Drew Casson, who also stars in the film. Yeah. And The Darkest Dawn seems to pick up where Drew's last film, Hungerford, left off. Is that right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, although you don't have to have seen Hungerford. It stands alone. It's a completely standalone story. So if you see Hungerford, you'll understand a little bit more about where the characters have come from. And that film, won a couple of awards internationally, so it's very worth seeing. But you absolutely don't have to have seen it in order to watch The Darkest Dawn. And, in terms of why people should see it, I mean, we are trying, or are in the process of trying to enable a new generation of young British filmmakers to tell big, bold British stories. I used to be at BBC Films where, they make, amazing work, but there is a lot of people in the British film industry trying to make films like The King's Speech, and not many people in the British film industry trying to make films like The Dark Knight. And part of that is because people think that we just can't pull it off. But I think part of it is also because people come often in the British film industry from a very sort of theatrical, literary background, and they have theatrical and literary sort of aspirations. And what's interesting to us is that there's a new generation of young filmmakers who have access to the means of making films on iPhones and, on their computers and all the rest of it, who are really not from that same place, and are therefore really interested in making different kinds of films. So The Darkest Dawn is a full-on alien invasion film with hundreds of special effects shots, all done by our amazing young director Drew Casson on his own computers, and it's a really massively entertaining and sort of unapologetic, punky addition to the British horror sci-fi oeuvre, shall we say.
Yeah, I think that, something that really lent itself to that was this idea of it being this found footage thing. And you obviously have a range of acting talent on the film, including Bethan Ledley and Cherry Wallace, who were YouTube stars and didn't have much acting experience. But you had other actors who do have acting experience, Marwan Rizwan and Jamie Paul, who have TV credits. Yeah. Can you tell us a bit more about what it was like, how the casting process worked and what it was like to work with such a diverse range of experience. And
Yeah, well, I mean, in the first film, Hungerford, which we obviously just mentioned, we were working with Drew and really his friends, and it was very early on in Wildseed Studios' evolution, and we didn't really know, like many of our projects, we don't know exactly how they're going to go before we begin them because, we're trying to incubate new talent and new forms. And so we spent, probably 4 weeks in a rehearsal room improvising with that young cast and, made the film. And, the lead actress, Georgia, who'd just come from her youth theatre, ended up winning Best Actress at Porto Film Festival in Portugal. The previous winner was Helena Bonham Carter. So, so we got these young, very inexperienced acting talents and got them up to a really extraordinary level of execution. So we, and before that I was at the BBC and made a lot of programming for young people. And we always ended up feeling like we got better performances from, I'll say untrained, but, unformally trained actors than we did from people who'd been to theatre schools, for example, because it always felt to us like those people, the untrained and inverted commas actors had more real life experience to draw on, than the kids who'd been at stage school from the age of whatever. So we were undaunted about the idea of working with people with very, very raw talent. And so I think that, in terms of working with Cherry and Bethan, obviously what's happening now is that there is a whole new generation of talent who are building massive, massive, massive audiences online on platforms like YouTube and Instagram, etc., who are really operating completely outside the TV and the film mainstream and yet have a hugely powerful connection with their audience. So clearly for us, the idea of being able to work with this talent and then take what we've made directly to their fans allows us, to have access to a massive, massive audience, many of whom are really interested in watching the people that they grew up with on YouTube, take the next step, as it were, creatively, onto a platform like a feature film. So in terms of working with a range of talent, to be honest, we treated everyone the same. Everyone was in a rehearsal room with us for probably a total of 2 weeks. We did an awful lot of improvisation, an awful lot of character work, and so that really we could have dropped them in their character into any situation and they would have sort of known how to react authentically. And I don't know what you thought when you saw the film, but I look at what Cherry and Bethan have done in that film and I think they're just excellent. I think, Bethan as the lead in a film carries it. I think what she does is actually, not just all right. I think it's really, really great. And that's hard what they're doing. They're they are playing teenage girls taken out of their context and plunged into something completely alien, literally. And that's hard to make that believable, and I think that they manage it brilliantly. So in answer to your question, in terms of having Moan and Jamie there and them, everyone came on the journey, and we're making those films with such tiny crews that it isn't like a normal film set where you've got hundreds and hundreds of people and hundreds of vehicles and everyone, there's someone to do every job you could imagine available. On these films, we're all doing everything. So, I was the co-writer and the producer. I was also the caterer, right? So, everyone ate a lot of my veg curry. It's very delicious, apparently. So, there's no room for anyone to be precious, and there's no room for anyone to be sort of, that's not my job, or that's not in my job description. We're all doing it. It's sort of like a mad band of filmmaking mercenaries almost. And so it was it's much, actually, I worked in theatres for a long time, and it actually feels very like doing studio theatre. In terms of, a small, very passionate and tightly knit group sort of joining together to do something exciting.
Well, I suppose to continue with the connection to theatre, having a company, for example, are we going to see these faces again? I know that Tom Scarlett, who played Adam in the film, was also in the Divinity web series before Hungerford and the Darkest Dawn, and in Sweetwater last year, also written by Drew. So are we going to see these people again?
Well, yeah, obviously we brought the core cast from the first film through to the second film, so we're very committed to that. And I think in terms of, I would be amazed if the talent in that film don't start getting offers from elsewhere, because I think they're great. So you'll probably see them in other I hope you'll see them in other people's things as well as ours. And absolutely, we plan on working with our core team, on every project we can find that we think they'd be good for.
Of course. And of course the film has a great advocate in the Watershed cinema curator, Mark Cosgrove, who booked it in to be screened this week, as we mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah.
What kind of support and reception has it received overall since it came out in October last year?
Well, it's an interesting thing because we, very, very positive. We premiered at Comic-Con in London. And we were sort of, we had the slightly surreal experience of they've got a huge kind of 20-metre high screen outside Comic-Con, which has sort of got all the films that are sort of premiering or, being screened at the event, on a kind of roller. And so, we found ourselves kind of sandwiched between Fantastic Beasts and Star Wars, and then suddenly there was The Darkest Dawn. So we felt really excited by that. And the Comic-Con screening was fantastic. And a lot of the fans of another person who people probably may have heard of is called Stuart Ashen, whose web channel is called Dr. Ashen's, and Stuart's got a huge following, and his fans were very passionately involved in the launch of the film, which was just brilliant. And then just in terms of, it's interesting online because, you have a lot of, angry, unhappy people looking to work through some of their frustration in the comments section of other people's work. So, inevitably we've had to deal with a certain amount of kind of trolling. But what we've found really exciting is that when people understand what we're trying to do here, which is sort of start a bit of a movement, if you like, and kind of discover and enable a whole new generation of young British voices to tell. I keep using the word British and it all sounds a bit Brexit, but I mean that really just in terms of cultural, a diversity of voices, in a cinema which is obviously still very dominated by American voices. It's really about us trying to bring a sort of bigger diversity to British cinema screens. So when people understand what we're trying to do and they aren't trying to work through their personal issues in the comments field of other people's work, then the reception is fantastic.